Friends, the Standpoint SDA Church has issued a statement about the issue of Dr. Vine, and you need to see this statement. Friends, you have to see this statement, but before we get into the statement, Dr. Vine has preached at Standpoint SDA Church in Idaho about 3 or 4 times. Let me say 2 or 3 times. And this is one of his sermons that he preached at the Standpoint SDA Church. So let us watch this sermon that he preached at the Standpoint SDA Church. And after that, I will share with you the statement released by the church board of the Standpoint SDA Church about the issue, the current issue of Dr. Vine. So friends, without wasting much time, let's get right into the video. Let's get into the video.
African Americans near the bottom, the whites are about a third of the way up, and there's a bunch of other groups way higher than the whites in the average incomes. But according to Kendi, all of this is a result of white supremacy and white racism. So according to Kendi, as long as racial differentials exist, anti-racist ideology and critical race theory, they automatically blame systemic racism and justify any and every measure needed to eliminate such differentials. Anyone who questions this approach is destroyed by being labeled a racist in polite society, which will destroy you professionally, personally, and financially. Now, Kendrick goes beyond the issue of economic outcomes. He actually expands the definition of anti-racism way, way broader than you possibly imagine. According to Kendi, to be homophobic means that you are racist. And what he means by homophobia is, unless you are actively supporting and promoting the LGBTQ lifestyle and its full acceptance in society and all of its political and economic goals, therefore you are a racist. Now, you may not have realized that, but you are a racist if you don't support the full acceptance of, say, the transgender ideology in America today. According to Kendi, if you do not support transgender ideology or critical gender theory, that means you are also automatically a racist. He also argues that if you support capitalism or personal initiative, you are also automatically a racist. Quote, "To love racism is to end up loving capitalism," end quote, from his writings. And so what's happening with the anti-racist movement is that rather than dealing with the problem of racism, which does exist and should be eliminated from society, anti-racism is actually a totalitarian ideology, driving us towards a spiritually atheist and politically Marxist totalitarian government. And American society and Americans individuals are being driven by false accusations of personal, systemic, or institutional racism into a Marxist revolution and the inevitable elimination of all of our liberties. This is what I believe is happening now in our nation. And this ideology has taken over our colleges, colleges in general in America. It's what's driving corporate America, it's what's driving the media, it's what's driving Hollywood, it's what's driving your public school system, it's what our children are being indoctrinated in right now, and it's taken over almost every aspect of American society. And so this is what we see happening around us. So just as with the Sadducees and the Herodians in the time of Jesus, and the Adventist leadership elites in Kaiser Wilhelm's Germany, or in Hitler's Germany, or General Park's Korea, or General Pinochet's Chile, or Stalin's USSR, or General Galtieri's Argentina, all of those Adventist leaders, they compromised key Adventist beliefs to accommodate to the new totalitarianism and to maintain their socioeconomic status and to maintain their institutional viability, such as the temple in the time of Jesus and our colleges today. So today, our pastors, our college administrators, and our conference leaders across the NAD are facing intense pressure to go along with the new totalitarian revolution. They're facing intense pressure, and that pressure demands unquestioning submission to the new ideologies. Our schools, our conferences, our division is facing pressure to accept and to promote critical gender theory, the idea that gender is a social construct, that gender is not related to biology, and that you can have, potentially, if there are 7.5 billion people on planet Earth, that you can have 7.5 billion gender identities. There's no limit on how many gender identities you can come up with. We're under intense pressure to accept and promote evolving understandings of human sexuality and sexual orientation, known as the sexual revolution, and we discussed that at some length last night. And of course, if the Equality Act gets passed, then not only are we talking about lesbian, gay, bisexual adoption, But we're also talking about minor attraction, which is pedophilia, zoophilia, which is bestiality, necromancy, and genetic sexual attraction. That's the polite word for incestuous relationships. And so if we start giving in on the question of human sexuality, we will end up inevitably promoting all these other perversions, because that is what the Equality Act is driving at within America right now. We're also being forced or required or pressured to support evolving definitions of marriage. And a very well-known pastor preached about 3 months ago and stated on a sermon entitled "The Pope and Same-Sex Marriage." And in that sermon he stated his full support for the same-sex marriage on civil and legal grounds. One of the most famous pastors in the Adventist world right now. And so we are facing these pressures within our church. Sorry, has this thing just gone loud all of a sudden? We're facing intense pressures within our church to go along with redefinitions of marriage. We are adopting, I'm not saying we're being pressured, we are actively adopting critical theory. And if you don't believe me, look at the NAD's recent statements that they've issued, talking about systemic oppression and so forth and so forth. This is an atheist ideology in which the world is divided into the oppressors and to the oppressed. We are adopting, whether we like it or not, critical race theory in our colleges, an anti-racist ideology. Andrews proudly proclaims itself an anti-racist institution that is inclusive for all and is a safe space for everybody. This is pure Marxist ideology that we're now promoting at Andrews University. I live right by Andrews University, and believe me, when I say things like this, it doesn't win me any applause, but it's true. You've just got to read their own press releases. We're also being forced to adopt atheist understandings of diversity and inclusion, which means the cancelling of the gospel in favor of a safe space for everybody. Now, the concept of a safe space, we won't go into it too much now, is that a safe space is a place on a college campus where nothing can be allowed to question your self-understanding of who you are. That means that's a safe space. It's not like nobody's going to beat you up. It's that nothing can be allowed to question the validity of your lived experience. Lived experience is the term that is used here. Your subjective lived experience. Well, that means that if I go to college and I believe I'm a parrot, nothing on that college campus can be allowed to question the reality of me being a parrot. If I go to college and I declare myself a girl at enrollment, I must be placed within the girls' dormitories, regardless of biology. And so even when our Adventist colleges are declaring themselves to be safe spaces, this everybody says a safe space sounds really nice. No, it's not. Because what it means is that if somebody talks about the gospel with a call to repentance from sin often affects our innermost beings. And the gospel call to repentance is now being banned on our college campuses because that harms people's safe spaces.
So friends, that was a sermon preached by Dr. Vine at the Standpoint SDA Church. And it looks like the members of the church have believed in Dr. Vine. Friends, they have seen him to be a preacher of truth, a man of truth, a man that stands for the truth. So because of this, they released, that is the church board, the board of the church, released this statement about the current issue of Dr. Vine. And as I said, you need to see this statement. Is the Standpoint SDA Church standing with Dr. Vine? Let us go ahead and read the statement. And friends, you're going to see something here. So the statement says, conflict surrounding statements of Conradu Vine. Over the past few weeks, there has been increased discussion regarding the presentation by Conradu Vine at a camp meeting in Maine. We have had members asking what is the response of our local Seventh-day Adventist church to this growing conflict. As members of your church board here at Standpoint, we feel it is important to respond and at the least open conversation regarding what has turned into a censoring and deplatforming of Conradu Vine over some of his statements. Dr. Vine has been a guest speaker here in Standpoint a number of times. He has been appreciated as an articulate spokesman for truth and has courageously spoken with candor, always urging us to pray for our leadership since they are under intense attack by our spiritual enemy. We do not consider Dr. Vine infallible. We have, however, carefully looked at his recent presentations and so far do not see anything that is false or that could cause us to rescind our invitation to have him back speak here at Standpoint. Having said that, we do not encourage diversion of tithe through other channels. We also are not infallible and invite your feedback. We join Dr. Conrad in urging your prayers for all of our leaders here at the local level as well as at the highest general conference levels. We also encourage you to communicate with our local conference leaders, urging them to exhibit restraint in any possible reaction and to support Dr. Vine in his call for transparency and upholding of freedom of conscience in all religious matters. This includes one of our fundamental beliefs that calls us to treat our bodies as a temple of God. These matters of conscience are determined individually. Thank you for taking the time to read and prayerfully ponder our current perspective regarding this issue. Your feedback is welcomed. Your Standpoint Seventh-day Adventist Church Board. So friends, that was the Standpoint SDA Church in Idaho. And this is the first SDA church that has publicly shown their position regarding the issue of Dr. Vine. And you saw in the statement that they are standing with Dr. Vine. They have seen him to be a man of truth, a man that stands for the truth and also for religious liberty and freedom of conscience. So friends, I want to know what you think about the Standpoint statement that they have released. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, all right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'm asking this question: would other SDA churches follow suit? Will some of them also issue statements standing with the truth? I don't know, but let us wait and see whether we're going to see some of them in the coming future. So friends, I want to pause here because this is all that I had to share with you today concerning what the Standpoint SDA Church in Idaho has released about the issue of Dr. Vine. Friends, if this is your first time watching, my name is Lawrence. I share and comment on events that are taking place both within and outside of the SDA Church. So friends, if you have not subscribed to this channel, I encourage you to subscribe because there are things happening in the church that you need to be aware of. You know, don't be ignorant about what is happening both within the church and outside of the church. And you're going to get all of these right here on this channel. So friends, don't hesitate to subscribe to Bro Lawrence's channel. All right. Thanks for watching, friends. Thanks for watching. May God bless you. And I will keep updating you about what is happening both within and outside of the church. God bless you.